Well, this week was supposed to be focused on Patchy. However, with the Horde test patch quite literally destroying herbivore diets by simply not spawning more than about 2 plants per patrol, and 0 in the migrations, I decided to go back to the main Evrima branch and play some dibble. Getting started is generally the most difficult part of a Diablo's life. You're small, slow, and vulnerable for a good chunk of early growth. My own experience involved a rather irritating Trudon hanging out in the southern sanctuary. And then a rather slow race away from the area to attempt to grow somewhere quiet. I say attempt, but honestly, nothing really happened until I was a fresh adult. With patrols spawning close by to give me food wherever I felt like hiding, I didn't have much to worry about. Once I was large enough that I could reliably defend myself, I moved back into the open plains patrol of South. I wasn't there long before I spotted what appeared to be a solo raptor. No big deal. Wasn't exactly a worrying sight as a near-adult dibble. At least, not until a baby diblet showed up. You see, I have never been the best at defending others. In fact, when I'm playing something bulky like a dibble, you can bet I'll probably plow you over at some point, whether you be friend or foe. It's inevitable. However, with this baby being, well, a baby, I couldn't just stand back and let the raptors kill him unopposed either. And in rather typical raptor fashion, one raptor very quickly multiplied. Diablo has been modified since the last time I played it, allowing for more openings for predators. Perhaps the most annoying, as the dibble, is the camera lock when in sparring mode. You simply can't look behind you. Which of course is great for predators that are attempting to take one down solo. If the Diablo's in the open, as long as it's in sparring mode, you can sneak up behind it and pretty well avoid being alt-attacked. Their slide is also slightly less effective in allowing them to flip 180 degrees to hit things that are chasing them. Anyway, being in the open was not ideal for protecting Sokram, and unfortunately, they went down. Not one to bodyguard, I returned to business as usual. But the raptors, perhaps emboldened by killing the smaller dibble, apparently decided to keep prodding me. The hunt didn't last long. After I hit one of the adults for a second time, he headed for the forest, and I followed along, hoping his bleed was worse than it probably was. Of course, once I was in the trees, the raptors decided it wasn't worth the fight anymore, and I returned once again to the business of growing. Having gotten bored with South, I moved toward West Rail. That area has been mixed lately. Either it's quiet and dead, or it's overrun by predators hunting each other. Today, there was a small serrato and a stego. The stego was friendly enough, but the serrato seemed to be sizing me up. He stopped for a moment and I charged. If he was friendly, he needed to understand that I would not tolerate him following me. And if he was not friendly, he still needed to understand that I would not tolerate him following me. He seemed nervous. Understandable, honestly, though. Diablo is a dang force to be reckoned with, and at his size, he really shouldn't be picking a fight with a fresh adult Diablo. He finally attacked, and I sent him packing immediately. By the time I passed through Highlands, I was getting thirsty. I don't trust the Highland Lake for drinking, especially not when the lower lake at water access is so close, and has much safer spots to do so. On my way down the hill, though, a pair of dilos noticed me. I wasn't particularly worried. It was daytime. They, however, apparently decided that they wanted some tender Diablo flank steaks. Their first mistake was existing in front of my spiky face. Attempting to face tank a dibble, not exactly the most effective technique. With the adult down, I thought the younger one would cut his losses. He didn't. Of course, then the rain began, and I didn't need to go for water anymore. I turned around and headed back toward the lake and food. The area was mostly quiet. I'd been ambling around, snacking here and there for a few minutes before I came across another solo serrato. It's funny, the Isle sometimes, because you never know how an encounter is going to turn out. Are they going to attack? What's the level of skill if they do? If they are, what are the chances that I can come out on top? I think both of us were considering these questions as we circled each other. Finally, I decided that he was unlikely to attack, and I started walking away. It was then, of course, that he decided to attack. No blood was drawn, no harm was done. We came to an understanding and headed our separate ways. I think by now, most longtime players are aware of the Carno nerfs. And whether they agree or disagree with them, I'd like to believe that the vast majority have all come to the same conclusion. Adult Diablo, not on the menu. There are, however, always going to be newer players and outliers. This particular Carno had been attempting to stalk me for a while. If I'm being honest, he wasn't very sneaky. But he was trying all the same. Ultimately, his attempt at attacking ended in an alt attack to the face, and I thought that would be the end of it. Funny enough, he instead simply followed me through the canyon and made a second attempt on the other side. He was lucky that the stun for charging something too large stopped him outside of my alt attack range this time. Silly thing. That was enough for him, though. He walked off to think about his life choices, and I continued on my way. Sometime later, I'd returned to Highland Lake. See, the life of a dibble isn't exactly about far travels. As long as there's food, water, and relative safety, I don't feel the need to stray too far from the hotspot that is Highlands. Approaching the lake, however, a feeling deep in my gut said something was very wrong here today. Beside the water, a dead dibble, unopened, rotting. A short distance away, I smelled another, and I could see a third as well. Oh yeah. This absolutely stank of cannibals. But with the carcasses rotting, I hoped that perhaps whomever had killed the others had moved on. This line of thought was, of course, a mistake. When your gut says to get out of there, you really should listen. I, however, did not. I wanted to go to water access. The second I heard movement ahead, I knew I'd found trouble. 2 adult dibbles, moving to attempt to trap me between them. Their trot should have told me everything I needed to know, but I was trying to hold out hope. I was running a photosynthetic tissue build. If they were not, I could outrun them easily. If they were, I could still outrun them if I got a head start. They'd never catch me now. Except when I looked back, I knew my fate was sealed. Speed hackers. The most unskilled type of cheap crap players to ever exist. I did the best that I could under the circumstances, but somehow, even when their attack missed by a mile, I found myself suddenly unable to run momentarily. The heck kind of wacky tech are these guys running these days? 10 minutes later, the hackers had, I assume, been yeeted, and I was blessed with a regrow. Thank goodness for the admin team. Your efforts don't go unappreciated. I'd need to regain my diets, and I only had 2 mutations now, but that was a small price to pay. Soon, I had rejoined the friendly pair of younger dibbles I'd met during my earlier travels. One of them had just fought off a pair of ceratos, and with my diet the way that it was, I could use a cerato fight to make some adjustments to my stomach contents, if you know what I mean. Just as I expressed an interest in being forced to vomit, the ceratos attacked. And for some reason, my dibble simply decided that vomiting was not for her today. Oh well. I chased the other larger cerato off, and we paused to regroup before one of the younger ceratos returned and attempted to get revenge, I guess. He didn't get far in his quest. The next day, I found myself grouped with another dibble once more, quite soon after logging in. It was my intention to put myself in danger and go looking for trouble, but they didn't seem to mind. As we made our way toward West Rail, I glanced back to spot a group of Dilos following us. It's daylight. They'd be silly to hunt 2 adult dibbles in the day. A moment later, my companion spotted a Cerrato as well. Oh, what's this? Sure enough, mix packing. That's fine. I really wasn't worried. As I said before, dilos are not really scary for dibbles in the day. Not unless the dibble is solo and has absolutely no cover of any kind. And even then, the dilos have to try pretty dang hard to keep one envenomated without their night buff. And the Cerrato, well, honestly, he'd be annoying because diets, but otherwise wasn't exactly frightening in the face of 2 dibbles. The Cerrato died quickly, and when he did, the dilos lost their courage. The day passed uneventfully. We traveled to South Plains, hoping for a bit more action. I had spotted 2 Cerratos sneaking through the trees and moved toward them, hopeful to entice them into a hunt. While they didn't seem interested in taking the bait, a secondary pair ambushed my companion. Ah, just what the doctor ordered. We made quick work of them. If I wasn't so sick of the Cerrato plague, I might have felt a little bad, but honestly, I didn't. Ultimately, all good things must come to an end. I tried to find someone to give me a nice, good old-fashioned fight to the death. But in all honesty, most players preferred to give my dibble a wide berth. And truthfully, I can't really blame them. I've had my fair share of massive hitbox hits and dibbles quite suddenly sliding diagonally toward me without warning due to the spar stance being buggy. Why risk your life when there's easier prey? I think, for now, I'll table dibble alongside stego. While not technically invincible, they both suffer from the same general issue. They are simply overpowered and painfully difficult to hunt as the current carnivores in the roster. Perhaps when Aloe arrives, their gameplay will become more challenging and therefore more fun. But until then, I'd still rather play Tenonto if I'm going to eat grass. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and comment your thoughts below. I just want to thank you all for 10,000 subscribers. I honestly never anticipated so much growth. I'm so grateful for all of your support. If you've made it this far, I will be giving away 2 of my Dilo hoodies as a thank you to y'all. If you'd like to be entered in the drawing, all you need to do is make sure you've joined my Discord server. Further details will be posted there. The link is in the video description. Thanks again for your support, and I'll see you soon.